Kawani A.J. Brown. Kwani is a vegan mother, author, and founder of CraftyEarthMama.com, the Healthy Babies and Kids Expo, Healthy Halloween Festival, and she's co-founder of the Long Beach Vegan Festival. She lives in California here, of course, with her 2 children, of which she has written 2 books, children's books, and the illustration is actually she and her family. It's really cool. Her recently published children's books is Where Does Dinner Come From? These are vegan-based books. It's the first in a series of books that highlight living a plant-based lifestyle and encourages vegan and non-vegan families alike. The second title, My Mama's Milk, explores how each mammal makes milk specifically for their babies. I encourage everyone who has kids to really get it. It's really, really good. And we have Genesis, beautiful Genesis. You have a fan base, girl. 10-year-old vegan and animal rights activist who decided to go vegan when she was 5 and inspired her whole family to go vegan too. Genesis educates people at various events such as green and eco events and kids camps. She is featured in Vegan Everyday Stories and the upcoming documentary, The Invisible Vegan. I saw it, it was great. Genesis became the youngest TED speaker to ever present a TED Talk on animal rights, animal agriculture, and the destruction of the planet. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And we have her wonderful mother next to her, Janelle, who, of course, if it's not for Janelle, of course, we wouldn't have a Genesis.
Super excited. I wasn't able to make it last year, so this year I was like ready to go. And then to be part of this conference, one that's so needed, I thought was really beautiful. And it's an honor to be up here with Genesis and Janelle. I know them personally, love them to death, and it's great to be at a conference with them as well. So I'll just go through a few things. I won't take up too much time on this, so if you guys have questions of me as a vegan mama and a vegan mama of color, then we can just kind of, talk and discuss. So first, I'm just going to talk about my journey to vegan, and then I'll talk about raising my own vegan children. Why would you want to have a vegan family? And then some helpful tips and things I've found along the way. I am not a nutritionist. I'm not, raising kids expert. I'm just a mama. This is what I found works for us and my experiences. I was a vegetarian for 17 years before becoming vegan. I went vegetarian at 16. It was just one of those kind of things where I was really depressed and I just felt like so heavy about so many things in the world. And one of those things was the way animals were treated and me being a part of that. And so, I was like, okay, vegetarian, that's a thing. I didn't know too much about it, but I started reading, I think at the time it was Vegetarian Times, and looking more into it. And I was like, okay, I'll be a vegetarian, And my mother was incredibly supportive of me. So important when you're not raised vegan to have a parent that says, okay, I don't know about this either, but let's figure it out, or, let's look into it together. So I went vegetarian. I was that way for a long time, and then once I started thinking about things on a bigger scale, like my health, having children, vegan sort of got in my mind, and I was vegan off and on for a couple of years, but the commitment wasn't there. And then when I conceived my daughter, that's sort of when that turned to committed veganism came. And so, can you guys hear me when I step away? Okay. And so at that time, I was watching some documentaries. Corporation was one of them, which was about the dairy industry. And I was able to, and it occurs to me that it's such a selfish thing. I knew dairy was wrong for many years, but until it sort of affected me personally, breastfeeding my daughter, I had a lot of issues. I had, a lot of troubles breastfeeding her and problems that it caused, infections, painful, and I started to correlate that to cow mamas and how they must feel. and then started thinking about how people take their babies away from them. And I thought, oh my God, that would be so grueling for me. So once, you know, I made that connection to my own baby, vegan was the natural choice. So then I've been vegan for about 8 years. My daughter's, with that commitment, my daughter's 7.5. And, you know, the family support, like I said, is just huge. From being a young person wanting to go vegan, and then, you know, even as an older person, I can see now that my children, they're vegan since birth. So for them, support is going to be huge for them as well. Especially as they get older and move more out of the house, you know, they're more in social settings and circles. Right now, my son is 4, it's pretty much all he knows is vegan. He doesn't go off, you know, with his friends on his own or anything like that. But as they get older, it'll become more important to them. Some of the frequently asked questions or comments, you know, I get, and those of you here who are vegan, actually really quick, who in here is vegan? How many of you? Oh my God, okay. So I'm talking to vegans. Okay, so that makes it a little bit different. That's very cool. Okay, so you guys already know this. They'll be like, oh my God, how sad for your children. They can't, you know, oh, they don't get any birthday cake, or oh, you guys can't have pizza, or like, you know, oh, do you have to really watch it? You got to get them complete proteins in them. They must be ready to fall down at any minute, you know? And it's a whole thing, but we live a very full life. We eat what we want to eat. You know, they have birthday cakes. They're very active. They're in dance, and, you know, nobody's going to fall down at any moment. And again, I'm not a nutritionist. I don't really watch their, like, oh, are they getting enough protein? Are they getting enough carbs? We just eat lots of whole, fresh foods. Lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, lots of grains, and that way I know they're getting that naturally. So I don't worry about that. And then, I mean, vegan is more, not less. I don't see it as taking something away, or that, you know, how sad they can't participate. We participate in things, and I feel like it's more full because they are not growing up with that, you know, participating in an industry that is so cruel. They already have that part. They're in a family, in a lifestyle that doesn't have that. So I look at it as more, not less. So why would you want a vegan family? And for you guys, you're all vegan, so you already know the importance of teaching children compassion. Something as a parent you're always constantly doing. It's a daily part of conversation. But when you're vegan, you have, you know, you're not doing selective compassion. Compassion to some people, compassion to some animals, dogs, cats, you know, maybe rabbits, but not everybody. And how do you teach that? How do you say it's okay to eat and kill, you know, and torture some, but it's not okay for the dog? So with a vegan family, you teach that across the board, and you find that the children are more compassionate to everyone, all living beings. And for us, having that connection of animals are beings, not things, and we're all connected no matter what, it makes such a difference because they're open to that already and can see the world on a different scale, a more compassionate scale. And you can see my son there. He's truly like a tree hugger, and he hugs trees everywhere we go, hugs animals. If I shoo a fly, he's like, no, he was just trying to say hi, you know, like, I'm just trying to get him off the food, but he already is like, no, you can't just do that. He just wanted to say hi, or, you know, so it seems silly, but we talk about that. Okay, well, I'm very sorry, Mr. Fly. I just didn't want you to get our food. But, you know, compassion down to a fly, down to an ant. Everybody deserves that. So, and for us, we do, am I out of time? Am I on 0?
No, you have.
Oh, okay. I didn't see you, and I was like, he left. I must be at 0. Okay. And for us, we do, in my family, we do what's called the natural approach, or I call it the natural approach to veganism, because I don't know how else to explain it. But when we talk about food, we talk about where the food grows, how the food grows, how it gets to our plates, who picked the food, how are they treated. You know, when we go to the farmers markets, we talk to each person. Oh, where did this come from? How'd you guys get it here? How's your family doing? We talk about fair trade. And we talk about if someone's eating meat, how that got to their plate, what happened there. How were they treated at the farm? How did they get, you know, there was a process for them to be killed at some point. We talk about all those things. I'm very, very honest. And obviously for children, not so graphic. My daughter's 7.5 now, she can understand more. But on their level, on their terms. And that's sort of the idea where the books came from, is them asking me questions about, you know, where does dinner come from? Where's it? And we talk about all that. So natural approach is starting from the seed to how it got to us, including the people in there too, how they were treated. And then representation for my children is huge. Not only do they have a black mama, a Mexican daddy, they're also vegan. So finding groups, finding people that look like them, that have their lifestyle is so important. I don't want them to ever vegan not to be sustainable for them because they feel left out or they don't see themselves somewhere. So it just kind of happens naturally in our circles. We have a great wide range of people, but I make sure they get there with them. They see other vegans. There are some people, not just children, but some people who have never seen a brown vegan before or never met a brown vegan, never talked to a brown vegan, and they're surprised by that. And I don't want that to be their reality. So, you know, we make sure that they're represented. And again, that's the idea for the books. Those are pictures of my family in the books. They look just like we do. They're my children, and so that'll never be an issue for them. And it's so, so important to make it sustainable for your children, is to make sure they have people around them, you know, vegans and in their lifestyle that are like them, so they don't feel alone. And then some helpful tips, just, you know, again, I'm a mama. Prepare as much of your food as you can as possible. And I say this because I've seen some like teenage vegans who don't know how to prepare, don't know how to cook, young 20s vegans, and then they get in a pickle. Like they move somewhere where there's not so many vegan restaurants or ready-made options, and they feel like, now I can't be vegan. And that should never be the case. So when you're preparing your own food and you can, you know, go to the farmer's market, you go to the store and whip something up, then it's part of your lifestyle. It's very easy, it's very sustainable. And so, you know, always have your children in the kitchen with you, starting very young. If you decide to go vegan when you're older, get in the kitchen and just start trying, experimenting. Recipes are great too, but just being in there, you know, with the fresh foods and preparing them makes it so easy and a part of your daily life. And, you know, for those of us who have children, we know it takes a lot longer when you invite them in the kitchen with you. So you're like, oh, my God. You know, to make a simple salad is like an hour and you're tired. But I still do it because I know it's important for them in the long run, you know. So we take the time and we do it together. And then food prep is our daily conversation. What's going on in the animal industry is our daily conversation. This is a part of our lives. It's something we're always talking about. If we're out and we see something, we're always discussing it. Very honest, depending on how old your child is, being very honest about that. Not just, we don't eat animals because we don't. Why don't we eat the animals? Or we don't eat that because, you know, the people who made that or got that weren't treated very well. Or maybe this has pesticides on it, GMOs, like just constantly talking about it is so, so important. And then be flexible. Some days, you know, my vegan children are like, I don't like kale anymore, you know. They wanted oranges. I bought tons of oranges. Now they're like, oh, we're against oranges or something. And so some people will be like, oh, my vegan kid is not eating fruits and vegetables. But it will come back around. All children are that way, no matter if they're vegan or not. So I just, you know, roll my eyes and then we try something else. Or I'm very, very flexible. And, you know, if I make their favorites and they hate it now, that's okay. We go to another fruit, another vegetable, another grain. We try different things out. And for myself, I'm like, I don't want to eat the same thing every day, even if it's something I love, you know. So I don't expect that of them as well. And then when they're able to participate with you and make decisions about the food with you, again, it makes it more sustainable for them to be vegan. And, you know, you guys, that's kind of it. I mean, if you have some questions for me, please feel free. A lot of what we cook and eat, you'll find on Crafty Earth Mama on IG. I do blog as well, so you'll find some recipes there, but I'm more active on IG, like with our daily food, when we're out, what we're eating, you know, what they like now, what they don't like now, that kind of thing, to give you some ideas. And then both of the books are available on Amazon. But if you have questions for me, I would love to answer. Yeah.
We don't have a vegan base at home. Like, we don't know anybody in our circle. So it's really nice to have Instagram because I feel like we're a family there. But I'm curious,
it's so funny because
Okay,
children
he
are
says-
Me? Okay, so it's so funny because children are so different. My 7.5-year-old is not so vocal on that. She will just say, I don't eat that, or not go into it. There have been some times, and I know what you mean about the uncomfortableness, but I want them to be honest with people, and that's her story. That's her truth, that she knows what goes on, you know, but to so that it's not so awkward or for the next person, I tell them to, not everybody knows that, or not everybody wants to face that. So I will have her say it in a nicer way, you know what I mean? Or or just say, well, we don't eat bacon, or we eat, tempeh bacon, or turn it into what we have, because we know that no one is hurt that way, or, because people love to talk about their bacon. So if they get to talk about how great their bacon is, then we can talk about how great our bacon is too. But, I see what you mean, though, and perhaps Genesis may be able to answer that better because she's in school. And, what would you do if, that situation came up?
Well, I was the same way, but then I started realizing that all of my classmates, I was being sort of really harsh on them. So then I just started telling them that how you say is that our bacon is just the same, just in the vegan version. So I think just if they're being really harsh to you about their bacon, then I guess you can say it. But if they're just like, oh, I love bacon, then tell them, well, I love bacon too, just in the vegan version.
Thank you. You can do one more question for Kwani, and then we'll have Q&A.
I wanted to start off by telling you my story of how I went vegan. So when I was 3 years old, my favorite food was chicken nuggets because I just really love chicken nuggets for some reason. They were my favorite food. So I was sitting down eating them, and then I started wondering one day about where they came from, and I asked my mom, I said, Mom, where did my chicken nuggets come from? And then she looked at me and she tried to cover it up. She was just like, oh, from the grocery store. But I just felt like there was something really sneaky in those nuggets. So I asked my mom again. I said, Mom, where do my chicken nuggets really come from? And she told me that we killed animals for them. And I was devastated. I said that I never wanted to eat animals ever again. So me and my mom, we went vegetarian. And then after that, it was a year later, I saw my mom. I walked into her bedroom, and she was nursing my little sister, Zion. My sister, she was only a few months then. And I walked into her room, and I asked her, I said, Mom, where do we get our milk from? And then she told me, she just was straight with me. She said that we got it from mama cows. And I looked at it this way. I said, Mom, that's like someone taking your milk just to give it to humans instead of my little sister. And she told me that I was exactly right. That's exactly how it is. Oh, okay. Forward? Okay, like that.
She's so short.
She told me that was exactly how it was, and I was devastated. I said that I never wanted to drink milk ever again. And my mom, she told me, because I think she was trying to get me out of going vegan. So what she told me was, she was like, well, at parties, you're not going to be able to have birthday cake, you're not going to have pizza, and when in your class, whenever they have birthday parties, you're not going to be able to have cupcakes or whatever they're going to bring in. And I told her that I don't care what it takes, just whatever it takes, I'm just going to go vegan. So now my whole family's vegan. My little brother, Exodus, he's been vegan since birth. He's 3 years old now, and he's the craziest, happy vegan baby you'll ever meet. He's just vegan since birth. And my mom, she asked me before she had him, she said, well, Genesis, should my baby be vegan since birth, or should we just have him regular? And and then I said, well, if we're vegan already, my brother, my sister, and everyone in my family is vegan. I said, well, if everyone in our family is already vegan, then he'll just automatically want to go vegan, and why just have him a regular baby? if he can be like us and already have the choice, because if he was born right now and he was like 6, he would already be vegan. So either way. So my mom, she said, okay, so now Exodus, he's vegan, and my little sister, she's vegan too, since she just really looks up to me. And she thought that veganism was really cool, and that just something that I did was just really cool. So my sister Zion, she's 6, and she's vegan. And then my brother Anthony, he went vegan because so at first we were driving, just one day we were just driving across the street because we were bored. And my mom, we passed by a squirrel, and my mom, she told us to like look the other way because she didn't want to see us with looking at like the squirrel, because she knew that we would end up crying. But my little brother, he looked on the ground and he saw the squirrel, and the squirrel was dead, and he started crying. And then I told him, I said, that's like someone killing animals. And then ever since then, no, not ever since then, he went vegetarian at first, and then that's when he was drinking chocolate milk because he loved chocolate milk, and he was drinking it. And then I told him when he was drinking it, I said, did you know that comes out of a mama cow's boob? And he said, I don't want to drink out of no one's boob. I think for a second he forgot that he was nursed till he was 2, so yeah. But now my whole family's vegan. My dad's vegan because he just knew that my mom was vegan, and he just thought that veganism was something that I felt really strongly about. So now my whole family's vegan, and it's been 4 years since we went vegan, and yeah.
Thank you. All right, so let's do some Q&A for Genesis. Anyone with their hands up? Okay.
Right.
So Genesis, what has been your most amazing experience for going vegan and just speaking to people? Tell us about something that you felt was really transformative to other people you were talking to.
Well, I think just like my class, a lot of my classroom, we've been selling at my new school. It's a Viva. I'm homeschooled. Well, it's a co-op, so I go there, and her daughter goes there too, and I've been going there since this year. So they were going to go to Medieval Times, and that's a place where they ride horses, and it just is not fun at all. They eat chicken in front of like everyone. They don't just do nothing with it. So my teacher, I said that we were talking to him, and we were walking to the park, and then we were coming back from the park. So I asked him, I said, Jesse, what are we going to do when we get back? And he told me, well, we're going to talk about going to Medieval Times, since we've been fundraising, trying to get money to go on field trips and to go at the end of the year to Big Bear and get a cabin there. So he said that we were going to talk about Medieval Times if we were going to go, because everyone in my class wanted to go. So I didn't want to. So then I told Jesse, I said, well, everyone at my class, I'm going to get them to protest with me. You know that, right, Jesse? And he said, no. And then after I said, no, really, if that place, what they do is they really abuse horses and they ride on them. People riding on horses all day, that's not fun. Horses didn't ask to be there. And he said, well, I know, but they give food there. They give chicken and potatoes. And I said, well, no, it's okay. We don't need to do that. We have stuff here, and we can save the money to go to Big Bear. And he said, well, everyone there wants to go. And he said, well, they comb their manes all the time. They feed them. And I said, don't believe that, Jesse. And he looked at me, and I said, no, really, because the whole class, I'm telling you, all my friends, they are standing by me. They were like, yeah, I'm going to protest with you too. And I said, yes, I am very serious. The day before you guys go to Medieval Times, if you guys are going to go, I will leaflet to the whole class about Medieval Times, and they're going to end up protesting with me. So, Jesse, I'm telling you, and he looked at me, he said, are you threatening me? And I said, no, I'm not threatening you. I'm threatening Medieval Times. So now we're not going to Medieval Times. So I think just more of me talking to places about, like to people about going to places that abuses animals, it just is a really informative way to talk and get people to not want to go to places like that and to go vegan. So I think that's a really good way.
Awesome. We should give her a round of
So first of all, you are an inspiration. So thank you so much for your share. And then with mom, from trying to influence her to, well, from telling her you won't be able to have cupcakes and cake, and how did you switch so quickly? Because I wish I had that support from my family, and it's not there. So how did you?
If you guys can tell, she's a very determined young girl. So I was trying to convince her. I feel bad now, thinking back, I was like, you can't have cupcakes. I think I was thinking about myself because I like tearing up the kids' cupcakes when they don't finish them. And just the look in her eyes, I can tell she was very serious about it. And she's an empath. So what I found out when she stopped eating animals is she was feeling the pain and suffering of the animals. So the same with dairy. And I looked into, like Kawani, I nursed all my kids till they were 2 years old, and I had every issue possible, And I think because she's so smart, she knows when to help other people make the connection. And the time she asked me was when I was nursing my daughter. And honestly, any other time I might have been like, okay, whatever, she's 5, what does she know? But I looked at my daughter and I'm like, wow, like she helped me make that connection. 'Cause she was like, that's like someone taking your milk. And I never thought of it that way. So it was kind of a no-brainer when she said that. I'm like, okay, well, I'll roll with you. Let's go vegan. And and my husband too. He said, you make really good decisions for our family, and I know she's not gonna be sick or the kids aren't gonna get sick, so I'm gonna do it with you. And I was so happy. I was like, okay, I don't have to cook different meals. So we just wanted to support her, and now that she's speaking, the thing we hear the most from people, we hear from so many adults that said that they were in her situation and the parents just gave them like salads with no dressing. Like they did like everything possible to make them say they didn't want to be vegan. So that just reassures me that I'm glad that I did support her and go vegan. Like she said, it's like the best thing ever. My kids are proud and happy and confident vegans. They tell everyone they're vegan. They find opportunities, and even at the grocery store, they'll be like, "Ooh, soy milk, almond milk. Oh, not this cow milk," And I'm like, "Okay, go ahead, kids, go ahead." And like, even like the meat section, they'll be like, "Oh my goodness, it's the graveyard. It's the animal graveyard," And people just kind of look, and they'll look at their stuff like, "What the heck am I getting?" So it was kind of a no-brainer helping her go vegan.
When you meet with other kids your age that are not following plant-based diets, what approach do you usually use? I mean, do you try to talk to most of them and try to convince them to change? What approach do you use? And if they're really hostile about it, how do you handle that?
Well, everyone at my school, we all have to bring our own lunch because I don't have cafeteria food there. So everyone, they'll always come to me eating my food. So I think just when they taste it, they'll at first they'll think, wow, what is she eating? And then is it good? So then they'll ask me, they'll say, can I have some? And they'll eat it, and then they'll realize that it is really good. So then I think mostly the way that I get them to go at least vegetarian or vegan, because vegetarian, it's easier for them, because vegan, their family, they'll tell them they told me that my friend, she said that she's tried to go vegan, but her family says that she can't do it because she loves bacon too much. And I told her, I said that it's okay, that you just need to tell your parents that there is other options of vegan meats. And now she's thinking about going vegan right now. She's not eating any more meat. So I think it's really a start to getting her to go vegan. But I think I just talk to them a lot about veganism because I'm always talking about veganism. And they're always, they were on the computer and they ended up watching my TED Talk. So it made them sort of open up more about veganism, of going vegan. So I just think the way that I talk to them, I do the best approach I can, is nicely, not rude, telling them that animals are suffering for their food. But I just try to make them just see the connection, like how I did with my brother and with my sister. And I just do it the most soft way I could.
Thank you. Let's thank this wonderful panel. Isn't this amazing?